All right, let's dive right into this explainer. If you're at all familiar with the Class 10 syllabus, you definitely know Ruskin Bond's The Thief story. But look, we are going to totally bypass the standard, dry textbook breakdown today. Instead, we're going to jump straight into what this text actually is, a gripping, quietly devastating psychological mystery. We're going to completely reframe how we look at this story, stripping away those traditional classroom expectations to uncover a really fascinating exploration of human nature, identity, and the sheer weight of our choices.
Picture this for a second. Our narrator, who is a highly experienced 15-year-old thief, has literally just pulled off the perfect heist. He's stolen the money, he's made it to the railway station, and he's got his ticket in hand. There are zero police in sight and absolutely no physical barriers stopping him from boarding the train and just disappearing into the night. But he doesn't. He completely freezes. Some unnamed, incredibly powerful instinct just overrides his self-interest and forces him to turn back. So why? What invisible force stops a career criminal dead in his tracks when he has 100% gotten away with it? Well, that is exactly the mystery we're unpacking today.
To figure out why he turned back, we first need to understand the framework of the story itself, which is moral realism. Now, this isn't your standard childhood fable with a neat little moral wrapped up in a bow at the end. The thief's story, which, by the way, is famously part of the Footprints Without Feet supplementary reader, is an absolute masterclass in this genre. It uses gritty, incredibly realistic, everyday situations to explore some really profound ethical questions. The author doesn't stand on his soapbox and preach to us. There's no melodrama, no heavy-handed punishment from the universe. Instead, the situations are just left to speak entirely for themselves, which lets the moral weight land much more gently, but honestly much more lastingly on you as the reader.
And the absolute genius behind this subtle approach? That's Ruskin Bond. What's crazy to think about is that Bond wrote his first novel when he was just 17. Literally barely older than our teenage thief. He's a Sahitya Akademi award-winning author and pretty much a national literary treasure in India. What makes his writing so incredibly effective here is his focus on ordinary people. We're talking shopkeepers, drifters, seasonal workers, all living in small mid-20th century northern Indian towns. He sets this story in an environment of deep urban poverty and precariousness, where young men are just scraping by in crowded fairgrounds and sparse, unlocked one-room flats. In this world, trust isn't just rare, it's an absolute luxury. And paradoxically, it's that exact luxury of trust that becomes the explosive catalyst for the whole shebang.
Now, the dynamic here is fascinating because we're looking at a stark character foil. On one hand, you've got the suspect, Hari Singh. He's only 15, but man, is he experienced at deception. He is totally rootless, surviving by moving from town to town and constantly changing his name to create these convenient masks. He basically has no fixed identity. And on the other side, we have the mark, Anil. He's a 25-year-old freelance writer with a super irregular income, but he's characterized by this casual generosity and just a really easygoing nature. At first glance, Anil seems deliberately idealistic, almost to the point of naivete, right? He looks like the perfect gullible victim for a seasoned pro like Hari. But, as we're going to see, Anil's trust isn't foolishness at all. It's actually a highly sophisticated choice. So how does Bond crank up the tension between these two? 2 words: dramatic irony. First off, the story's most brilliant structural decision is putting it in the first person. We are placed directly inside the mind of the thief. We know Hari's deceptive plans the entire time he's befriending Anil, which makes us totally complicit. Second, the irony is just thick. Hari is plotting to rob literally the only person showing him genuine human warmth. And third, here is the kicker. Anil is teaching Hari to read and write. Like Hari himself notes, this education would technically make him the most useful thief in the world. Education, which is normally a tool for liberation, is initially framed here as a way to commit better crimes. But in this amazing twist, it's that exact connection that causes Hari to defy his own criminal self-interest.
Which brings us to a really pivotal theme in our explainer. Section 1, the metaphor of literacy.
You see, Anil teaching Hari to read isn't just about checking a box or gaining a practical skill. It serves as a really profound metaphor. Hari starts off totally adrift, right? He moves from town to town, picking pockets, and the name Hari Singh is just a mask he wears. He's basically a ghost. But when Anil starts teaching him to write his actual name and form complete sentences, it is revolutionary for Hari. Learning to write his own name symbolizes the exact opposite of his rootless existence. It's the very beginning of a permanent identity. For the first time in his life, he isn't just a nameless face in a crowd. He's being given the tools to belong somewhere, to be someone real. It's quite literally the education of his conscience.
And we can actually map this developing conscience and how it clashes with his criminal habits right through the physical locations in the story. It kicks off at the crowded, chaotic Mela, the fairground where Hari first spots his target. Then they move to Anil's sparse, unlocked flat. And the fact that it's unlocked immediately tells us Anil is trusting. Here, trust is established and eventually totally exploited when Hari steals the cash. Then we hit the railway station. This is it, the point of no return, the absolute moral climax. Hari marches there fully intending to disappear, but he just can't board the train. Finally, the narrative pulls us all the way back to the flat for the story's quiet, silent resolution. Every single physical move perfectly mirrors Hari's shifting morality.
Right at the dead center of that moral climax is the number 50. 50 rupees. Now, this isn't just a sum of money. Those stolen 50 rupees are the beating heart of the story's symbolism. Holding those notes at the railway station, Hari is literally holding his entire future in his hands. It represents this agonizing choice between two completely different paths. Path A, jump on the train and secure a future of continued petty crime, loneliness, and rootlessness. Or path B, leave the money behind, which means choosing a future of belonging, learning, and honest, albeit incredibly difficult growth.
And that brings us to the final, most defining act of this psychological mystery. Section 2, the return and the resolution.
So, standing there in the rain at the station, that newly forming conscience actually wins. Hari walks all the way back and slides those damp notes right back under Anil's mattress. In the morning after, Bond writes this incredible line, "He counted the notes. I think he knew, but he said nothing. The notes were damp from the rain. It is the story's most elegant detail because it is undeniable physical proof. The dampness proves the money was taken and it proves it was returned. Anil knows. Hari knows that Anil knows, but neither of them says a single word about it. Anil actively chooses a sophisticated, quiet trust over a loud accusation. He totally understands that a dramatic confrontation, or, calling the cops, would instantly destroy this fragile, beautiful goodness that just took root in Hari. This quiet, almost totally silent moment reveals the sheer transformative power of trust. Bond is telling us something huge here. Genuine, unconditional trust achieves what suspicion and punishment absolutely never could. Hari Singh wasn't reformed by the threat of a prison sentence, right? He was reformed by being treated as though he was actually capable of goodness. By giving Hari a space where he was valued and trusted, Anil created the perfect, safe conditions for Hari to make a moral choice entirely on his own. And the most beautiful part is that this monumental transformation happens without a single moment of dramatic confrontation.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Hari Singh was smart, he was resourceful, and technically speaking, he was a very successful thief. But before Anil, he was entirely alone, completely nameless, and totally adrift. So is the real cost of a dishonest life not material poverty, but rather a life without a real name or a true human connection? Have you ever been trusted so deeply by someone that it literally changed your behavior? And is a life without anyone who truly knows who you are its own kind of inescapable imprisonment? Definitely think about that the next time you consider the true value of trust.